The following story and photos are from GiantPandaKing's book, Gotham 1919 to 1939, by Russell S. Beatty, available from www.giantpandaking.com. Viewer discretion is advised.
Have I done everything in my power to protect this city? I don't know anymore. Sometimes it seems as if every criminal we put behind bars are replaced the next day by 10 more.
Maximilian Zeus, or Maxie, was a charismatic conman who lived in Gotham City in the mid to late 1920s. He reinvented himself as a spiritual health leader. No one knows much about his background, just that he had been abroad in Europe and only recently returned. Zeus's charisma and speaking abilities lent him a gravity that seemed to draw people in. His popularity grew among the progressive-minded, and he founded the New Olympia movement to promote the values of ancient Greece. Zeus taught his followers that the ancient pantheon of Greek gods held aspects of humanity that had to be nurtured in order to find inner fulfillment. He wrote books that preached the benefits of living an ancient lifestyle, but with a modern twist. Members of New Olympia ate only foods that would have been available in ancient Greece, wore simplistic clothing similar to togas, and lived in a compound owned by Zeus. The modernity came into play, wherein Zeus would make numerous press statements, and the group still had access to radio and other media outlets. They had access to modern medical care, but also used holistic medicinal alternatives. The group had the opportunity to live the ancient Greek lifestyle while still maintaining the modern conveniences of their era. It was, in their minds, the best of both worlds. Zeus had taken control of their behavior through this lifestyle. His group would gain a lot of publicity in Gotham. His followers supported him financially as well. He asked them for funds and promised deeper enlightenment in return. He began to exert more control over his followers, doubling down on his delusions of grandeur and theatrics. His followers were only allowed to digest media he had approved: books, broadcasts, and contact with the outside world. He had seized control of their information. Zeus next began to preach against outsiders, claiming that they were lost souls and only those within New Olympia were saved. He had taken control of his followers' thoughts. Lastly, he spurred on their emotions, proclaiming outsiders as persecutors of their group. Zeus had become more than just a spiritual leader. He had formed a cult. Absolute power corrupts, and as Zeus found his following growing, his mind began to give way. The wealth and power began to make him think that he was above the law, immune to the trappings of average people. Zeus eventually started to believe he was a living god, that he was a living incarnation of the ancient Greek god whose name he bore. Some of his followers believed it too. Their time each day was spent revolving around the care of their living god. Zeus was waited on hand and foot, and his followers seemed happy from the outside. But on the inside was a dark secret. It was later revealed that Zeus was using his celebrity status to lure women into his circle and abuse them. Zeus's ego would not let him admit that he had become an abomination of a person. His followers within New Olympia turned a blind eye to his actions and worked to cover them up. Some of them even perversely saw this as further evidence that Zeus was a god. Many women never spoke out, and those who did weren't believed. But when Julie Madison became a victim, Bruce Wayne began looking into the New Olympia movement. Julie Madison was a part of the same social circles as Bruce Wayne. She had been born into money but was bored by it. She used her time and resources on the board of directors at Arkham Asylum, helping raise funds to better the facilities and the help they were giving the inmates. Eventually, she crossed paths with Bruce Wayne. He wasn't really her type, His seeming flippancy and playboy publicity reminded her of others in their social circles. The more they interacted, however, the more she sensed that there was more beneath the mask he put on in public. The two began a short-lived relationship fraught with lies and secrecy. Bruce was never forthcoming with his nightly activities, and Julie, understandably, resented and distrusted him for it. After the two parted ways, Julie was distressed. She had put more into the relationship than Bruce had, and she felt betrayed. Looking for something new, she turned to the New Olympia movement, taking Gotham by storm. A friend of hers had introduced her to it, and she gradually became more and more involved. When she saw the injustices and atrocities occurring in the group, she attempted to leave, but her colleagues stopped her. They were keeping her there against her will. Bruce heard of this from Julie's concerned family members and rescued her as the Batman. This was the catalyst for the start of his investigation into the cult. The stories he uncovered from former members of the movement were startling. Zeus was now exerting so much control over his followers that they would fight, die, and kill for him. The Batman would eventually expose Maxie Zeus as a predator who had assaulted close to 80 women. He brought his findings to both the police and the press, completely destroying Zeus's public image. The police raided Zeus's compound and made numerous arrests, Maxie Zeus among them. The only ones found guilty were Zeus and his inner circle. The rest had to undergo psychological treatment. The Batman considered this case as one of the biggest failures of his crime-fighting career, and he would always regret not stopping Zeus sooner. Countless members of his movement had been psychologically affected, and countless women had been violated by a madman. Despite this heart-wrenching failure, the Batman continued to fight crime in Gotham City, always seeking to bring justice to those who had been wronged. In the end, Maxie Zeus was brought to justice, and his victims finally had their voices heard. The testimonials of his victims were damning and lent to his conviction and sentencing. Zeus swore vengeance on the Batman, whom he referred to as his lesser brother, Hades. This declaration never came to fruition as Zeus spent the rest of his days in prison. Zeus had fashioned himself after the god of lightning, so it seemed darkly fitting that he was sentenced to the electric chair. Gotham would never see his return. Batman continued to protect the city from villains like Maxie Zeus, but he never forgot the lessons he learned from this case. He always looked closer at every case, not wanting to miss any detail that might allow him to save more people. He remained vigilant against those who would abuse their power. Politicians, crime bosses, and masked villains were his primary focus. The Batman never lost sight of the fact that justice must always be served, no matter the cost. In spite of this spark of renewal in his crusade, the Batman was tired and burnt out. Bruce knew that he would not be able to continue on this way. He continued to seek alternatives for protecting Gotham, and he began to lean more heavily on his compatriots to do so. Gotham was protected. For now.